David Carle snubs the Blackhawks, but out of the ether arises Mike Sullivan, who steps away from the Penguins. Who will be the next Blackhawks head coach? We don't know. Stop asking us. But we'll talk it out next on CHGO Blackhawks. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, powered by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use that promo code CHGO365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Happy Monday. I'm Jay Zawaski. That's Mario Tirabassi. Joey's running the show for us today. It is absolutely glorious today. Absolutely beautiful. If it could be this day, every day, we'd live in San Diego and not Chicago. But man, Chicago, the city is showing off today. And if there's ever a day to get Mike Sullivan into the West Loop,
it's on the day he's fired.
Today. It is too freaking day. Thanks for being with us. Do us a favor. Hit that like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. And if you're listening on the old podcast app, do us a favor. Follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So it has been a newsy 3-4 days here. I think it was Saturday morning we got the news.
I was setting up for my nieces / goddaughter's first communion party at our house. So when I saw the news, I was just like, you guys don't want to do an emergency pod, right? Like, this is an emergency pod where they're like, I'm kind of slammed here right now. I'm setting up to, it was Saturday. I was just like, well, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So Saturday, we find out from Elliot Friedman that David Carle has withdrawn his name from consideration for the Blackhawks job. I woke up early this morning knowing that the newest 32 Thoughts was going to have something,
you'd think,
on there. So what basically Elliot Friedman said was, it is, quote, likely he's going back to the University of Denver. There is other NHL interest in him, but everyone seems to believe the move is that he will not leave Denver. But said until he officially says he's not leaving, then they can't say he's officially not leaving, if that makes sense.
Right.
Then, maybe 5 minutes after I tweeted that, Elliot Friedman with another Fried bomb. Mike Sullivan out in Pittsburgh. So the guy that we had sort of been talking about all season as a top candidate to replace Luke Richardson / Anders Sorensen, Mike Sullivan is suddenly available. So I feel like right now that's where we're sitting, and that's what we need to start with.
Yeah. I think as you look at the landscape and the ever fluid landscape, Mike Sullivan looks like now the next new number one candidate for the Blackhawks, just because he checks all the boxes. He's a guy that's, played at the highest levels, coached at the highest levels, succeeded at the highest levels, has the hardware, has the resume. And I think one of the big things with Sullivan is that it's, as much as, we kind of talked about with Anders Sorensen this season, how the respect factor, I think, in multiple ways, is a big, component to all of this. And, with the referees, with the locker room, like all that stuff, like, not that the locker room didn't respect Anders, but like, I think as you move forward, you want to have a guy that is going to be able to command a little bit of respect. And Mike Sullivan definitely is a guy that does that. So he's absolutely the best candidate available, I would say, for what would fit the Blackhawks. The important thing is, as it was with David Carle, as it would be with any coach, is the two-way street. Do they also see Chicago as something that they want to be involved in?
Well, and I mean, I tweeted out kind of in the moment, didn't really think about it, but whatever. I said the Hawks should hire Mike Sullivan today. It's very easy for me to say that. Mike Sullivan, as you
why haven't they?
so eloquently pointed out, is a winner, wants to be a winner, probably has very little interest in coaching in Chicago. Important note, as I was talking about this with Greg Boyson this morning, he is a Boston guy, Mike Sullivan.
Mm-hmm.
His son-in-law plays for the Boston Bruins, Charlie McAvoy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons that seems to make some sense. You've got the New York Rangers, who in a lot of people's eyes are closer to a championship than the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
And if they can add a coach like Mike Sullivan over Peter Laviolette, that's definitely an upgrade. So maybe he pushes them back to where they had been for the previous few seasons and beyond. But I don't know. I do think, and look, we're close to it. I admit, like, we're probably too close to it to see it the way we need to, but I still think the Hawks are a pretty appealing job, and I think there's a lot of people that would want it. And I don't think Mike Sullivan is off that list necessarily.
Yeah, I think with the outside factors of Chicago, like I mean, yeah, we're gonna talk up the city as much as it needs to be, and definitely is worthy of that. But it's just sometimes it's not some people's vibes. Some people don't want to be in the bigger market, bigger city. I'm not going to hold that against them. The Blackhawks' future looks really promising, and the way it's been trending is positive. But for in the moment, I can see why a coach wouldn't look at it and say, yeah, we're going to win more games than lose games. And that's what I'm most, interested in doing right now, is winning more than losing, and not necessarily looking at, some of these coaches don't have the investment in the 5-year plan, because as we were, you kind of saw it, forget who from the Athletic, but they might have been Shayna Goldman. They did the math on it, and the average lifespan of an NHL head coach in their position is like 2.4 years on average, the lowest of the major sports, North American sports. So when you look at head coaches and the time that they get, it's not very long in the NHL. And even if you are brought in to be we're going through a rebuild, we're going to navigate this together, all that stuff. Luke Richardson got about 2.4 years.
It's almost on the dot.
So with regards to David Carle, he's my age, 35. Like, if you were to say you get 2.4 years in this job, and then you're going to be looking for something else, on average, to me that wouldn't be enough to say, okay, I'm going to leave this very nice, very cushy, potentially lifetime job that I could have at Denver, and leave that really nice setup. So it's, as much as we say there's a lot of promise here, the next person that they hire, even if it is Mike Sullivan, he may not see the end of that 5-year plan.
It's not going to be Mike Sullivan. As much as we would love it to be, as much as we want it to be, as much as we've been talking about it forever, dudes like him have earned the right to cherry pick their job.
Yeah.
And I've seen speculation today that there are teams now that were happy with their coach that are like, oh, wait, Mike Sullivan's available?
That's what the Blues did.
Maybe we're not as happy with our coach as we thought we were, and let's hire him. Maybe the Oilers hire him tomorrow. Garrett, come coach the playoffs. Yeah. Get us to the cup.
I think the Kings might want
it. It is unlikely that, so whoever it is, and we can do that as the show goes on. We'll stick with Sullivan here for a minute, but whoever it is, it's probably not going to be someone that immediately moves the needle for you as a Hawks fan. John Cooper kind of silently signed an extension with Tampa.
Yeah.
If it's going to be him, I believe they'd have to give him some sort of higher title of director of hockey operations or something, and give him some control on the roster, which if it's John Cooper, cool. But that seems incredibly unlikely.
Yeah, and
that's not going to happen.
And I think getting that the John Cooper dream started with, well, he's on an expiring deal. He's not anymore. And that changes that.
That's why when I saw the news about David Carle, my first thought was, okay, now we move on to this incredibly underwhelming list of B options, and there's not a lot of people on that coaching possible list, and I'm sure there's some I'm not aware of, not thinking of, that Kyle Davidson wants to talk to or is already spoken to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just not a lot of options to me that are very exciting.
Yeah, I mean,
Dan Bilesma.
The list is that's
okay.
that's the thing is just like the immediate names that come to mind. It's easiest to name out the people that were just fired or the people that didn't work in the NHL last year or 2 years ago, but they're around the NHL. Like Bruce Boudreau is a name that is thrown out there, but it's and it's Tortorella, Laviolette, Tocchet, like it's just the same carousel of characters. And I just think that what the Blackhawks need is not necessarily that same carousel of coaches. Like I think they'll need someone that I think it would be nice to have someone who's got a true resume and has had success, whether it's a lot of success at the AHL level or a lot of experience as an NHL assistant or having won a Stanley Cup as an NHL coach before, like Sullivan has, or a guy like Dan Bilesma has. Like having all of that would be great, but it also you kind of have to. This coaching hire is super important for Kyle Davidson because I don't think you get to hire 3 coaches. You've hired and fired one.
Yeah,
you've had 2. Well, he's technically fired Jeremy Colleton, but he didn't hire him.
He should get bonus points for that.
Yeah. So this is a lot riding on his his decision. So you have to get a person who is going to check the boxes, and I think one of those boxes has to be like a coach that, like, I would say ignites some like enthusiasm within the organization, because outside of Chicago, outside of the Blackhawks world, still the perception of what's happening in Chicago on a national, international basis is still largely like, wow, what a turd of a program.
At best, it's like they're still significantly away from competing.
Yeah. Which,
like you said, 2.4 years, that's probably about where they start contending.
Right.
Is in 2 years, right? Like that's the thought would be not next season, maybe the following season. And then for sure, so I'm talking not 25-26, not 26-27, but 27-28, they better be a solid playoff team and a threat to win a round or two. You would hope. But around the league, and Friedman sort of said that too, and he was sort of adding that as his own speculation, that teams are sort of unsure as to how great the Hawks will be. And I think they do feel good about the prospects, but as we all know, where are the star forwards coming from? Are they going to be able to sign anyone? Mm-hmm. And I think until they do that, it's not as appealing of a job as it might be. I get it. You're right. 2.4 years. Like
it's actually 2.38.
I'll round up.
Yeah,
just for
it
kindness.
was Shayna Goldman with the Athletic. It was 2.51, and then when the Ducks, Rangers, and Kraken all fired their coaches, it cut it down to 2.38.
And I think that's why Carle made sense, because you could sign him, give him a 5-year deal, and you're basically saying, hey, the first couple years, they're going to be gravy. Like, unless it's a complete disaster, which we don't expect it will be, we're going to let you grow with this team. Mm-hmm. And as they get better, you'll get better, and then when everything should click together. I don't know if there's another guy like that. So I feel like it's going to be a retread. And of those guys you listed, we can get into our list coming up here in a second, but does Rick Tocchet excite you?
No.
He'll get respect to the players. I would imagine he's kind of a hard ass former player, all those sort of things. But Vancouver was the biggest dumpster fire in the league this year. That was a team with maybe not cup aspirations.
They should have been in the playoffs.
Several rounds of the playoff aspirations.
Yeah.
And they completely crapped the bed. And it was not just that they underperformed. There was infighting. It was a bad situation in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. So
they're just waiting for Connor Bedard.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's right. All right, let's get into some of the other candidates coming up next. We appreciate everybody being with us. If you've not already hit it, please hit that like button. Back in a moment. We're presented by Bet365. And speaking of Bet365, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. at Bet365. New customers, you get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code CHGO365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. And with the Bet365 NHL early payout offer, you're a winner if your team gains a 3-goal lead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use the code CHGO365 when you sign up. And breaking news from Bet365.
Oh, breaking.
You, as a new customer, now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code CHGO365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Those bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, in-app only.
And just like your favorite team needs a home court, home field, or home ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage. And Empire Today can help you get that advantage. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. They wake up, flooring. They brush their teeth, they're thinking about flooring. They brush their teeth looking into the shiny floors in their homes. And then they have breakfast, and it's just flooring. It's Floorinos.
It's ground up tile with milk on it.
And then they go to bed at night, and they dream about floors. Instead of counting sheep,
they sleep on the floor.
It's vinyls jumping over a fence. That's all they do. Think about floors. So you know when you're working with Empire, you are working with people who know so much about flooring. And you go to those big box stores, and it's just a horrible experience. You go through all the aisles. You're the one looking endlessly for your supplies. Then you're haulering all those home, and then you figure out you're watching YouTube videos on DIY flooring, and you figure out, I can't do this. I need to now call a professional. If you just start with Empire, you skip all of that nonsense, and Empire will bring the showroom directly to you. You can pick the right flooring that matches your color scheme in your space, how it looks with your furniture, how it looks with your paint on your walls, wallpaper, whatever it is. You can see the sampling in your home to make sure you are getting the exact right flooring that you want. And with Empire Today, you get clear upfront and inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule the installation as soon as the next day. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are better at home. CHGO listeners can also receive a $350 discount when using the promo code CHGO. That's right, $350 discount with the code CHGO. Restrictions do apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details.
All right, we got a super chat from our pal Windy City Hockey. $2 says, I will be ticked if Sorensen gets promoted. I don't think that's a 0% chance.
It's not zero.
I think there's a chance that could happen. Because if you're just looking around, and I don't think they should just simply hire someone simply because they're different. Because you could do what the Blues do, what the Blues did.
Just have a lame
promote
duck
the
coach.
interim. You promote the interim, and then as soon as someone comes available that you want, because someone's going to get fired midseason,
sure,
scoop them up.
Don't
change for the sake of change. If there's not someone you like better than Sorensen,
I like Anders Sorensen. I like what he has done for the organization over the years as a development coach. As a coach with the IceHogs, I think his track record there has been good. I don't think he's a guy suited for the NHL. I think if you're going with vanilla NHL hire with NHL experience or Anders Sorensen, I would still go with the guy who's got the NHL experience, who has, if you're at that point. Because if you're going with Anders Sorensen, then that to me and I'm trying not to make it sound disrespectful to him, but that to me feels like you've reached the end of your list and everyone has said no or whatever's happened. And then you're just like, well, I guess we're stuck with him.
Well, I'm not implying that Kyle Davidson's list was David Carle and Mike Sullivan and that's it.
No,
but I just like I would really not. I'm really not interested because to me, like the guy who is just the very definition of a retread is Peter Laviolette.
Yeah, no thanks.
That it's not moved the needle for me at all. And it to me, is that who you're referring to though when you talk about like a vanilla NHL guy with experience? I mean, he is that. He's had some decent runs in the playoffs. There's a reason he keeps getting hired. But there's also a reason he keeps getting fired over and over again, always falling short of expectations.
Yeah.
Does he, sorry, I keep interrupting you, but does he strike you as a guy who is a developer?
No.
So that's the thing is you've got to find the right guy for the right situation.
I don't want anyone that to me fits that like retread mode. And that's where Laviolette, I would put him in. But no, I just mean like, I would say when I say like vanilla head coach hire, it feels like Dan Bilesma, right? Like,
I would prefer him to Laviolette.
Yeah, I would too. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, I'd be more excited for that than getting to the point where you're saying Andrew Sorensen is gonna get the interim tag removed. I don't know. I'm trying to think back when they fired Colleton. Did Derek King interview? Like, did he have the interview?
No, I think he was just interim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd feel like that's just what's going to happen again. Like, I really do, like, they'll probably give Sorensen the interview process, which he, should be afforded that. But coming out and already saying like he's going to stay in our organization no matter what.
Or are you saying did they interview him before Luke?
When they were going through when they landed with Richardson,
I do think they interviewed King.
Actually,
I think he got like the courtesy interview like they did with what they're going to do with Sorensen.
I just think that's going to happen again. I just think with Sorensen, with Davidson already coming out and saying he's going to stay no matter what, you're already laying that like soft landing of like you're not going to be the guy, but you're not losing a job.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather go with someone like Dan Bilesma than Andrew Sorensen.
I think we just because the name has been in the news now, we should just put this out there for people. Just stop thinking about Joe Quenneville.
He's going to go to the Anaheim Ducks.
He
just jumped in the chat last 5 minutes.
I can't wait.
He's never coming back to this town.
I can't wait for Joe Quenneville to coach Trevor Zegras. That's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see that.
But Hawks fans,
he's not coming back to Chicago.
It's not happening. Nor should it, for the record.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No. Okay, so that's addressed.
You had a coach in mind.
I do, and I've been talking about him for a little bit. And Max Boltman from The Athletic wrote about him. Trent Yawney. I know, former Blackhawks head coach. I looked at those rosters last night. If I say them on the air, they will ban our YouTube page. So you go look at the teams Trent Yawney coached in Chicago.
Yeah.
And now there were some young guys. The reason this is interesting to me is the guys who played on the Dynasty Hawks, the defensemen especially, Seabrook, Keith, most notably, are over their skis about Trent Yawney. Is a guy who is a great communicator, a great teacher. He's stern, so he's not a guy who's going to be a pushover, which was a bit of the issue with Richardson and with Sorensen. You're not going to push Trent Yawney around. He's got high expectations. He's been described as abrasive, not in a John Tortorella way, but of a, hey, that wasn't good enough, better. He'll say it to Connor Bedard. Mm-hmm. He'll say it to Landon Slaggert and everybody in between, right? Like, it doesn't matter there. Tons of experience. He is also, what I love in a coach that was a player, is a coach that was good but not great.
Right.
So, Trent Yawney was a good defenseman for a long time. The only reason I don't love it is because it's another defensive hire. But it's okay because you can hire an offensive mind to help with the offense and help with the power play, which was actually pretty good last year. Mm-hmm. And maybe, just maybe, if you're thinking you like what Anders Sorensen does, you're going to keep him around the organization. The offense did look better with him. Maybe you keep him on as an assistant or something like that. I don't know. But Trent Yawney is a name I never see arising as a name for a head coach. Mm-hmm. But all he does is attach himself to, he's been with Todd McClellan forever, Bruce Boudreau, he is helping the young Red Wings defense get better in short notice. Like, I'm not saying that he's my guy, they have to hire him, but I definitely think it would be a misstep if the Hawks did not at least pick up the phone and interview Trent Yawney and pick his brain about the head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean,
it checks a lot of boxes for what they're looking for.
Especially with where the defensive group for this organization is at.
Yes.
Having someone who's going to have that focus would be pretty good. And yeah, you know what? I do think the aspect of having someone who can dig into players the right way is good, because I think it goes without saying that, like, if you have a guy that is yelly 100% of the time, that runs thin very quickly. Gerard Gallant, John Tortorella, like those guys, Mike Keenan, like they wear out they might get results, but it feeds into that 2.4 year timeline. Like it goes short. So I think being able to have a guy that can be a guy that, or a coach that can be, you know, a kick in the pants, especially for a young group, is worth having. It's a quality that you want to be able to tap into at the right times. Because if you have a coach that's not that way, I think it's very hard in the NHL to have like the cerebral coaches where it's just like, oh, they're just really good at X's and O's and they're strategic and all that. Like, you're not going to see many coaches where it's just like soft spoken and just really a mastermind of the game. And I don't really think you're going to get that. You're going to have
that's why John Cooper's a unicorn,
right?
You know, it's not a common trait for a coach,
but he's a guy that can lay
sure,
into
yeah.
He can lay into people.
Someone be selfish and win this game.
Yeah,
love that.
He's done it. So I think having that as an aspect of a coach is important.
Well, here's a quote from Hurricanes defenseman Sean Walker. This is from, again, Max Boltman's piece in The Athletic. He says, I think Yawney is good at communicating, pretty good, especially with young guys, about what's expected of you. And I think he does a good job of just setting those expectations and letting you know how you're going to be successful in the NHL. Our time in LA together, there were quite a lot of young D-men that came through during that time. It's pretty cool to see all the guys that were there and where they are now. Here's a list of some of the defensemen that Trent Yawney has coached: Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Dustin Byfuglien, Mark-Edward Vlasic, Hampus Lindholm, Cam Fowler, Josh Manson, Sammy Vatanen, Shea Theodore, Brandon Montour, Darnell Nurse, Matt Roy, Sean Walker, Mikey Anderson. Like, there's a lot of guys who have come up and had good careers learning from him. Here's Patrick Kane on Trent Yawney. I think Duncan Keith said Trent Yawney helped him develop in his career and develop his game for the pro level, and he was good for him. He had a lot of good things to say about him. So that's kind of the first thing I thought about when he was coming here to Detroit. And, you know, obviously you see his communication with the detail-oriented. I think he's been good for that group, but also just for our whole team in general. The energy he brings and day-to-day basis conversations, being excited about being at the rink, he's been great. Moritz Seider, I've never met a guy who's so detailed about little things on the ice.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think if the Hawks hire Trent Yawney tomorrow, there's going to be a big influx of season tickets sold. I don't believe that. But I do think as you're going through and you're checking boxes, Trent Yawney checks a lot of them. Again, I want to be clear here. I'm not saying this is the make or break hire, but that is kind of the prototype what you're looking for. Maybe there's a reason he hasn't been a head coach. Maybe he didn't love the day-to-day of being a head coach, but you've got to talk to him.
Yeah. I mean, he's been in that development role before. Was a head coach with the Norfolk Admirals when they were the AHL team of the Blackhawks, and that's where a guy like Duncan Keith got a lot of experience with him at that time, and he's been an assistant everywhere. when you talk about resume, he's got it.
Yep.
And I think if you talk about respect, seems like he's got it too. So, I mean, those are two big things that I think in this search, a guy like him checks off those boxes.
All right, got to hit the break zone one more time, and we'll be back with more of our candidate ideas on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, powered by Bet365. And the first place Chicago Cubs are headed to Milwaukee, and you could be too. Kick off your summer right with the CHGO Cubs crew. Cody, Luke, and Corey are taking the party north for a border battle with the Milwaukee Brewers. It's all going down Saturday, May 3rd at Potawatomi Casino and Hotel in Milwaukee. Here's what you get: an exclusive pregame party in a private room at the casino, a live CHGO Cubs show so you can hang out with the crew, talk some ball, a buffet lunch, my favorite kind, and a drink ticket to get the good times rolling. And if you're 21 plus, you'll get $100 in casino play with a Potawatomi rewards card. You can also add on a game ticket to sit with the crew in the lower outfield on the Cubs side, of course, or you can make it a weekend, add a one-night stay at Potawatomi for Saturday night. Tickets and all the info are available at allchgo.com/event. These will go fast, so don't sleep on it. Join our Cubs crew May 3rd in Milwaukee.
Speaking of heading to Milwaukee, the Rockford IceHogs as well.
Yeah.
I'll talk about them later. But I'll talk about this right now. If you've ever tried to buy a home or get a loan or just deal with money stuff in general, you know it can be a lot. That's why we would like to tell you about the Rate app. It's a serious game changer. You can get pre-approved for a mortgage in minutes without the need to jump through a million hoops. And if you've been thinking about home equity loans or personal loans, you can secure one in under 15 days. This is going to sound like a flex, but it is for the purpose of this read.
All right.
I have bought 2 homes. I've sold one of them. The process of all that with the loans and all that is mind-numbing.
Yeah, it sucks.
So the Rate app would be a wonderful tool to use. It could also help you find the best homeowners and auto insurance based on what you actually need. The whole thing is powered by AI, so it's smart and saves you time and money. And something that is an unexpected bonus, they have over 800 free wellness videos, stuff like meditation, breathing exercises, stretching, basic tools to help you feel better mentally and physically. And when you're going through the home loan process, meditate.
Yeah.
Breathe. Stretch all the time. You should stretch all the time. Like, you should wake up, stretch, after lunch, stretch, before you go to bed, stretch. You'll just feel better. Says the guy who doesn't do any of that. So if you're stressed about a loan or mortgage, let the Rate app handle it. Once it's covered, you can go hit one of their free wellness videos to chill out. It is one app that helps you both in your wallet and your well-being. Download the Rate app today and get started.
All right. A couple people talking about like the hard ass element. And I don't know if I was unclear, but Yanni is not like a John Tortorella, but he's a guy who has high demands.
Yeah.
And can be harsh when necessary. And I think that was part of the problem with Richardson and Sorensen, is they give you kind of more of the disappointed dad thing than the kick in the ass you might need sometimes. And I think there's a time and place for the disappointed dad coach. If you talk to the Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs era Bears, they had that in Lovie Smith, and they loved him, and they played hard for him, but those were all-pro / Hall of Fame level players competing for a championship.
It's a different kind of roster.
You're not there yet. I think sometimes, in how many games did we do post games where we were personally annoyed with certain decisions of players who should know better by now? It was basically every game where we were frustrated about that. So a guy that can aggressively and emphatically say, not good enough, make it better. I don't care who you are. There's no different rules for different players. Do your thing. Could be huge. And that's why someone like Trent Ioane, or specifically Trent Ioane, interests me greatly.
Yeah, I think that's, again, like I said, like being able to communicate that to a roster that is going to be young, going to be focused on developing. That's going to be important because there's going to be hard lessons learned by this group moving forward. Like don't have the expectation that just because they're young and exciting, it's going to translate to flawless, fast hockey, victory. Like all that stuff. Like they should be a faster team, but they're probably going to be making mistakes very fast. So you're gonna have to learn from that. And then once you get those lessons and you're able to, figure out the game at the NHL level, which a lot of these guys should be able to do. Hopefully they do it quickly. Then you're going to be at a point where you're out of the like lesson learning stage and you're into more of the like, okay, let's make sure we're winning games, we're contending, we're not making mistakes. And that's where like that instilling those like, okay, don't do that again.
It's called called drills for a reason.
Yeah, that's where
right
you're
into
at.
your brain.
Yeah.
$5 super chat from Mike Heilman says, what would the Blackhawks have to do to convince top candidates such as Sullivan and Tocchet to gain interest in the head coaching job? I mean, that's a good question. You can't make a guy want to coach a rebuild. If they don't want to, I mean, all you could do is say, we promise we're going to get Mitch Marner, and we promise we're going to get Brock Besser and Nikolai Ehlers, and we're going to pay you double what the highest paid. Like, you could do that, but you can't guarantee any of those things, aside from the money. And I don't know. I think you just – I also don't – I'm not in love with the idea of having to convince someone to do it. Like, come on. Like, these prospects are pretty good. And if they're on the fence, is that the guy you want as your head coach? Don't you want someone that kind of wants to be here and is excited about the opportunity to build a team from not ground zero, but ground two right now? And, you want someone who's going to be and I think, again, that's why David Carle seemed like such an intriguing candidate, because I think that would be the next challenge for him would be, all right, now I'm in the NHL. Let's see, can I do the same thing here and grow this program like I did at Denver?
Yeah. Yeah. I think money can only go so far, because some candidates they'll say, yeah, money's great, but I have a really good situation. David Carle basically exercised that thought process of like, I'm in a really good situation in Denver. You probably right now couldn't pay me enough to leave here because, of how he's set up as a coach, how his family is set up. Like that's all part of it. I see, some people in the chat mention this name. I know Scott Powers of The Athletic mentioned this name as well. Jay Pandolfo, another, college head coach, has had a lot of success at Boston. He's a lot of NHL assistant coach experience, former player. He's in a situation at Boston University where it does not feel like he's leaving whatsoever. I don't think there's going to be money that's going to entice him. I don't think there's going to be, it just doesn't seem, and he also family set up.
Yeah. Same with Carl too.
His Pandolfo's son is expected to go to Boston. So I don't think he would leave before getting the chance to coach his son. So yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem like that's an avenue. And it was pointed out to me today, earlier today, probably after Elliot released the 32 Thoughts podcast. He went on the Fan Hockey Show, also part of Sportsnet.
Not the Ched.
Not Ched. And basically said that Sullivan is a guy that has no interest in coaching a rebuild, and that was probably expressed in the process of being let go by the Penguins, that is on the horizon for them, if not going to happen next season. Like, you still have Malkin and Letang and Carlson and Crosby, but that's a team that, like, to contend and get back to the top, you're going to have to completely change things. And it just seems like Sullivan's a guy that has no interest in doing that.
No,
I don't think Boston's necessarily in that same spot.
Would you want to coach? I know you don't have a son-in-law yet. Would you want to coach your son-in-law? That does not appeal to me. I would not want. I hate coaching my daughter. It sucks. All she does is roll her eyes at me and yell at me all the time. It's brutal.
It's like, I probably wouldn't want to.
She said that next year, can we switch up the league so we don't have to pay for our parents? I'm like, great. Love you too. You're the best.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I probably would not enjoy that. But it's if you have people that have the mentality of, like, business side of things and nothing's personal, then yeah, I think you could probably get over it. But yeah, I mean, if for Sullivan, if Boston is the place to go, like they've seemed one more year out of the playoffs away from being where the Penguins are. So I mean, to each their own, but I just think like some candidates just won't be enticed to come to a situation where, you know, it might be 2 or 3 years before they're, you know, significantly in a spot to win more games and get to the playoffs and go deep. Like that's where a lot of these people want to go, which makes me think that the head coaching position is probably catered to someone who is either this is going to be their first experience as an NHL head coach, or it likely is going to be someone who they want to stay in the cycle of coaching in the NHL, and this is going to be their opportunity. Now, not saying it should go down the retread path like a Laviolette or anything, but again, like a Dan Bilesma, or maybe it's Brad Shaw, who was a guy that was interviewed when they went through the interview cycle to get Richardson. Brad Shaw was part of that.
Give the clothesline from hell if you're insolent.
He was, he was an assistant with Tortorella in Columbus and Philly, and then took over the Philly job when Tortorella was fired. He's had a ton of experience before. Another name that I think would be very interesting, that has had a lot of assistant coaching experience and has been in a successful organization, is not John Cooper, but one of his assistants, Jeff Halpern, who's had a long playing career and has been an assistant with John Cooper, was part of the Stanley Cup teams that the Lightning had.
I don't hate that.
I think that, you know, this could be an opportunity where, you know, if he wanted to move up and become a head coach, this would be a good opportunity to do that. And if he came from an organization like the Lightning that have had a lot of success and have coached under a guy that a lot of people love across the league, I don't think that would be a bad option.
Yeah, and I think that like, again, as we're talking about this, someone like that very much checks that box too, of ready for that first opportunity. And I like that. And I think the hope there would be, just as Kyle Davidson has Norm McIver, you would hope a first-time coach like that would have someone who's done it a long time, even though they've done it on the assistant level a long time, someone to help with the head coaching stuff. So maybe a former head coach by their side.
How about Don Granato as an assistant, and then Tony Granato as an assistant, and then Cammy Granato as an assistant?
I don't
get them all.
The Granatos make so much sense as NHL coaches, but for whatever reason, it just has never worked with them.
Yeah.
It's weird. They are textbook what an NHL coach should be. And like the way they speak, even the way they look, the Granatos look like hockey coaches, like 100%. I just don't know why it hasn't worked at this point. I don't know. I'll talk to a Granato. Bring me any Granato. I'm sure they know more about hockey than I've forgotten, or vice versa. Yeah. They forgot more about hockey than I've ever known, but like, why is it not work with it? And I think they are very much, at least Tony is very much the Luke Anders personality. Nice guy, soft-spoken. And again, I don't think that means he can't coach. I just think what this team needs right now is a little more gusto behind it. They need a little more kick in the ass. So I don't know. I think that a lot of people saw, well, Carle said no. And Sullivan is clearly not really interested in coaching a rebuild, so no one wants this job. That's not true.
From the outside looking in, that's going to be the narrative.
Yes, of course. But they will hire someone that I think a lot of people probably had an eye on one way or another. This is still a very appealing job. It's an original six town. It's a team on the rise. We all know this. I shouldn't have to clarify this for anybody, but it's true. There are several people that certainly want this job. One name we haven't mentioned yet is Jay Woodcroft, who was fired from Edmonton last year.
2 years ago.
Was that 2 years ago?
It was I
thought it was the beginning of last year.
Just looking it up. It was November of 2023. Because then.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Anyway, point being, That I don't know. I don't know what it is about Jay Woodcroft.
I'm interested in it.
I know. All right, I'll give you the floor.
I'm interested in it because it's not like I don't think a lot of people had him like on radars, and then when the Oilers made their change, they promoted up their AHL head coach, and then he immediately not a big surprise to have success with the Oilers. They were set up to have success, but I think he immediately became like, oh wow, this guy's like the hot new coach or whatever, because they had success. They got to the conference finals. But I think it was kind of overlooked of like, he was an assistant for almost 2 decades before getting, the NHL first NHL head coaching opportunity. He was assistant with the Red Wings, was part of their coaching staff when they won the Cup in 2008. He was an assistant coach with the, fell short of a dynasty San Jose Sharks back in the late 2000s, early 2010s.
I wonder why it fell short.
Yeah, Blackhawks had a hand in that. He's got NHL or AHL head coaching experience, NHL head coaching experience, had success at the AHL level, 2 playoff runs with the Oilers. So he's got a lot on his resume. He's got experience coaching some of the top guys. He was, the Edmonton market, where they were at and where they have been since basically McDavid has been there, has been, you must win now.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting. He's had some now, almost a full season away from the NHL because it was November. He's had a full season. So, a fresh perspective, a fresh start, and you have some runway in Chicago, like you were mentioning before. Like the next hire you have, you basically are giving them 2 years of like grace period, And Luke Richardson had that because we are going into the bottom of the rebuild right now, where we know we're going to suck. Any player that you have that's good is gone, and the kids will be on their way. Now, he didn't get to coach a lot of the kids, but it was those 2 seasons that it was just like the expectations are for you to put us in a position to be good in the draft lottery. If it was Woodcroft, like you could give him a season of just at least 1, maybe 2 years of grace period, where it's just like the expectation is getting the team to trend upwards, like get the ups and downs, more ups than downs, and then heading into like that 3rd year, you could say, is when the win-loss expectation becomes, the hammer point.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my initial thoughts on Woodcroft was, if you fail that badly with the Oilers, then I don't really trust you. But there are other factors that went into that. McDavid injury obviously was a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. Look, right now I'm not married to any. Like, there's a lot of people dug in. Like, this is the guy. Like, I don't feel that way about anyone right now.
No, I don't have a heels dug in candidate whatsoever.
Not anyone is going to be here realistically. I was kind of that way about Carle. I was kind of that way about Sullivan, but neither appear to be happening. So I don't know. I think I could see Woodcroft wanting to get this job to I don't want to say reprove himself, but to show that he was more than just a beneficiary of a great roster in Edmonton.
I wouldn't say that there's not a element of pridefulness for someone like Jay Woodcroft, having no experience whatsoever with him.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, to get that opportunity and to go to the conference final, you go to the second round the next year, McDavid's hurt and you get off to a slow start 2 seasons ago, and then they're like, nope, it's your fault. Like, and then you're replaced by the guy that was McDavid's junior coach, and they go 1 game short of the Cup final. Like, I wouldn't, or of winning the Cup rather. I wouldn't think that there'd be some like, hey, I kind of got a short end of the stick here in a really good situation, that he wouldn't want to get back into the into the swing of things of being an NHL head coach and having that opportunity. Like I mentioned before, like he seems like one of those guys that is like one of those candidates that would be like, I'll go to Chicago because it's a way to get back in, and I could also, hear out their plan and see what they do and maybe get on board with it.
Yeah, I mean,
and I would like to think us within the Chicago media realm are a little more understanding than the Edmonton media realm.
I would hope so.
I think.
But does Gene come with? Gene Principe come with? Jay Woodcroft? We'll take that.
Well, he seems more like he'd land with Chaos than with us.
That's true. He is their
he's their guy.
Their human mascot. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, as the days and weeks go on, we'll get more clarity on who they might be talking to. But I also think there is a chance, like, all of a sudden, we have hired this guy. I could see it happening that way.
It felt more like before Carle was name was withdrawn, it felt more like at the drop of a hat we could have that news. Now it feels more like we're gonna wait till May or early June or something like that. Good band, by the way, Early June. That we'll get, because I'm sure there might be a team that is eliminated in the first round that fires their coach. Sure. So it's another name tossed into the hat of like who could be available. Like, so the situation will
get fired if Vegas loses.
He could. That's a guy with Hawks connections.
Just throwing some names out from the chat. We've got Eddie Olczyk, Daryl Suter, Jonathan Taves.
What other former Blackhawks can be coaches? How about Mike Ditka? As Jem says,
it's a quorum, if you will.
Yeah. I've always said the coaching staff of Kane, Keith, Seabrook, and Taves would be undefeated in this town.
I'd hire Hossa.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe he can play.
I bet he could.
One last season.
He's in great shape.
Maybe the Fanatics equipment is better than Adidas was for him. I don't know.
Yeah. The Fanatics jerseys are more
guys,
breathable.
like, it's not.
Yeah, I feel like with Carle out, this will now be a longer process, which fine. Like if the guy that you were dead set on of like, we really want him and it doesn't work out, then you're like, all right, let's make sure you're playing with as full of a deck as possible.
There's no one they're going to, well, maybe not. I guess I'd say this. I don't think there's anyone they're going to miss out on that's going to enrage me. Unless David Carle goes to Anaheim or something like that. If that happens, I will be livid and it will be a very different show.
Oh, yeah.
If he was just happens, like, no, I'm going to another NHL town, then we've got issues. But it doesn't seem to be. If you missed it earlier, Elliot Friedman said the expectation is that he's returning to Denver, David Carle.
Let's say
that's the only thing that would get me mad.
Show. Yeah.
No. Because there is context. These veterans that everybody wants, like Mike Sullivan, everybody wants him because he's Mike Sullivan. He's got a million options. So, I don't know. Right now, I don't know. I don't even know. It's too early for me to even build my list because I was feeling quite confident that they were going to hire David Carle.
Yeah.
And now the weekend's here, and I'm like, God, I got to think about this. Now I got to think about this list and
think about it.
Good Lord. I'm glad we have stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll just do this show every day until they get a coach.
Josh is on it.
Josh is on
Stanley Cup winning assistant coach for the Florida Panthers, Tuomo Ruutu. Come on down. Come home, buddy.
Why not?
Come home.
Yeah, we have many weeks and months of this
tomfoolery.
Speculation, tomfoolery.
Also a coaching candidate
to figure it out.
Tomfoolery.
Yeah,
very
good.
Be
a good one.
IceHogs.
IceHogs, yes.
They win. They sweep the Rockford, the Rosemont Wolves.
Rosemont Wolves, yeah. Two game sweep in their best of three in the opening round, quote unquote play-in series. Third time in 4 years the IceHogs have made the postseason, played in the play-in round, and the third time in 4 seasons that they have swept their opponent. So now it comes down to getting past the next round. They'll take on the Milwaukee Admirals. That series starts Thursday. Games 1 and 2 will be Thursday and Saturday in Milwaukee. It's a best of 5. So then game 3, I think, is they play Thursday, Saturday, Wednesday. I think there's a long break between games 2 and 3. But that game 3 will be in Rockford. So it's exciting. Admirals are a tough team, but this IceHogs team is they got a lot of speed in their lineup. Played very fast in the 2 games against the Wolves. Their X factor has been Drew Comezzo. He is on fire since he's come back from injury. I think he had like a .925 save percentage since the end of February. Only allowed 1 goal in the 2 games against the Wolves. Had a shutout in the clinching game. Like, he has been fantastic. And we talked to him last week Monday before the playoffs started. Very confident guy.
Yeah.
Talking after the game on Friday night. I was in Rockford for that. The question was asked, is like, having a game like this as the postseason goes on, like, how does it change your confidence? He's like, it doesn't. I'm just very sure of myself. Like, paraphrasing, obviously, but like he is someone who is playing really confidently right now, and we've seen in hockey at all different levels, a hot goalie at the right time can take you far. So the IceHogs have a tough test with the top seed in the Central Division, Milwaukee Admirals, coming up. But if Comezzo is on his game like he was in the Wolves series, like, you could see Rockford causing some trouble. For Milwaukee.
You could talk about where the standings are going in and the seeding are, but the IceHogs play with their best players in Chicago almost the whole year.
Yeah.
So Levchinov goes back, Korchinski goes back, has 2 goals in 2 games. Levchinov scores an overtime winner.
Yeah.
You've got Del Mastro back there. Doc is healthy.
Yep.
Like, it's a different team now than it was for the last 5 months in Rockford, and they're much stronger. So I don't know. You never know. I mean, a lot of these AHL teams are built to win. They're not built to develop.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it goes. But you're right. Like, Comezzo, since coming back from the injury, has been unreal. And like, he's always been a confident kid. Like, when we've talked to him, he's kind of mature but beyond his years. Good interview for a guy as young as he is.
Mm-hmm.
But just seems different. And there was that article written about his mental status when he was hurt and Landon Slager got called up and he was living alone. He just kind of recommitted himself and to the mental side of the game. And it's since then he's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, hey, anything can happen.
Yeah.
And just good experience to get these kids in games that matter.
Yeah.
And situations that matter and a bigger level of intensity. It's so important. We talked about this Friday, but remember what those veteran Hawks said at the end of the year. Like, everyone's going to be 0-0-0 when the season starts next year. And everyone's going to be playing at the same intensity. That wasn't the case at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
You had guys resting. You had teams resting players because they were already secured. You had teams that were knocked out that were half motivated. You're going to get everyone's 100% game to start the season. You got to be ready for it. So these playoff experience certainly help in that regard.
Yeah, it was awesome to, see that group in person and, kind of watching them from afar this year. But to get back to Rockford, like, it was great atmosphere. The BMO Center was packed. It was Friday night. It was an elimination game scenario. And yeah, it was awesome atmosphere. So good to see that, that crowd is going to get another, at least one more game, hopefully a couple more than that in the next series. And it was great to get out to Rockford, and just, I love going out there because that's kind of where I got my start, cut my teeth, as the expression goes, with my professional life, and it also gave me a chance to get Jay a gift.
Oh yeah, you asked me what size t-shirt I wear.
I did.
I appreciate you saying XL, even though I don't wear an XL.
Here you go.
Oh, hell yes.
A Samuel Savoie jersey.
That is
of
amazing.
The Rockford
This is,
IceHogs.
by the way, this is on the set until they're eliminated.
Perfect.
That
there
is
you go.
perfect. I gotta salute it.
Yeah, I was going through the pro shop, and they had
That's awesome.
Some player jerseys, and I saw the Savoies hanging there, and sure enough, they had one in your size.
I can wear this, and Addie can wear her Lucas Reichel shirt.
Perfect.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Yes, no problem.
That's cool.
And what did you get me?
It is
your backwash cup.
I don't backwash. Come on. I'm an adult.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
I love that.
That'll be fun.
all
I yeah, as you said, like the playoff experience is awesome. I hope those guys get some extended time there, because playing in that atmosphere is going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully they bring it to their next step of their career in the NHL very soon.
We will see. Stick around. The schedule, by the way, just for the record: Thursday, May 1st, Rockford and Milwaukee. May 3rd, Rockford and Milwaukee. May 7th, May 9th, Milwaukee at Rockford. And then Game 5 is May 11th in Milwaukee. So go to one of those games.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's great. Rockford's great. Good time. Do it. All right. We're back tomorrow. We did kind of appeal for a mailbag, but it was all stuff about David Carle.
Yeah. So mailbag show will be tomorrow. And if you have coaching questions, just watch today's show.
Yeah.
And they will all be answered.
Try to get us some questions that are not about David Carle.
Yeah. We'll recycle it for tomorrow.
And some people asking when the lottery is. It is either May 5th or 6th.
Yes.
It depends on the playoffs.
And yeah, I think they kind of wait for a few series to be finished before they lock that up. So maybe soon.
All right. We'll let you know. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2 on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, powered by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.